Well, I think codependency it comes down to an autonomy problem and a sovereignty problem. And it's people who haven't maybe, disentangled from what other people expect of them. Like, I am not a self without other is essentially the core of what codependency is.
Already, every relationship is starting off with deception.
100%.
Okay. And then what happens? Well, then there's disappointment.
Romance is really a mirror for ourselves. We project and jettison everything we hoped onto the person. Really, falling in love it should be looked at as like a self-exploration.
Acting on emotions as guides to truth. Stillness. Surrendering to what is. Seeking. Using my gifts with purpose. Light. This is the emotional blueprint.
Let's shift maybe to talk a little bit about relationships, because it's naturally, as a therapist, whether you want it to or not, people talk about this almost every single session. And one of the kind of impressions I've had over the last few podcasts is just feeling like this sadness for people in the world that really want meaningful relationships, but they just don't know how, and they were not taught how. And I want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
And we've been touching a little bit about that. Let's talk for a second maybe about some current trends that me and you see.
Okay.
And then talk a little bit about how people can overcome those habits or trends or whatever. What are some concerning relationship trends that you have seen? Just
in general, or
in general?
Not just romance, like any sort of relationship?
Anything that comes up for you. One that we talked a lot about codependency. Well, we should talk about codependency is one. Codependency is, I feel like, just increasing in the amount of relationships and in the intensity, because maybe to some degree it's in most of our relationships, but to what degree? And so why don't we start there? And maybe a question for you would be, we were talking last time about how somebody can tell when they're in a codependent relationship. What are some examples of codependency that you often see as a therapist?
I guess we're going to mainly focus on romantic relationships with this particular thing, I would say. I mean, that's certainly where I see it more.
That's when it comes out the most.
Right.
Because, exactly. That's when it comes out the most, I think.
Well, I think codependency it comes down to an autonomy problem and a sovereignty problem. And it's people who haven't maybe, disentangled from what other people expect of them. Like, I am not a self without other is essentially the core of what codependency is.
Well, let's talk specifically about romance, because I think that is a fascinating one aspect of it. So this idea of like falling in love in the book, The Eden Project, by James Hollis, he very clearly outlines like the unhealthiness and inevitability of falling in love romantically. Like, it's something that we all do, and it's essential to get us to commit to the person. But I love the way that he talks about it. He basically talks about it in a way where the romance or the honeymoon period is basically this deception that this person is better than who they actually are.
Right.
And that they're more amazing and they can fulfill more for you than they actually can.
Right.
So already Every relationship is starting off with deception.
100%.
Okay. And then what happens? Well, then there's disappointment.
Sure.
This is a natural phase.
Yes.
And then hopefully there's acceptance. But this disappointment phase after the honeymoon fades, this disappointment phase, I think, is where codependency either gets stronger.
Ooh, I love this.
Or when autonomy grows.
Right. Well, what it is, I think, is romance is really a mirror for ourselves. We project and jettison everything we hoped onto the person. Really, love, falling in love it should be looked at as like a self-exploration. What we project on that person is super interesting. And it's what we attach to. It's something where it's our soul wound. Oh my gosh, my mom was distant and cold, and here's the most perfect, warm, she's always available, or whatever, right? But you can look at that and be like, what is it I'm missing? Because really what we want is something to heal our soul. If you look at romance, a lot of times it's not super sexy or romantic, because what you're saying is the wound I had from my parents, in like our case, for example, we're both heterosexual. So my dad, your mom, there's a wound. We'll always have a primal wound from both of our parents. But I think what we do is we hope to heal that wound, finding the magical other, which is Hollis's book, right? I think if you want to sidestep codependency, you have to almost look at it that way. What did I need them to be? And chances are we do unconsciously pick people who resemble something about the parent who hurt us.
Oh, it's all unconscious.
Right?
And so consistent.
Absolutely.
With what me and you see.
Yes. I love talking about not just the relationship of patience in, but like, who was your first love? What was that like? How did it end? What about the next one? I love hearing it because I'm not really interested in those people. I'm interested in what the patient projected at that person. We project more at a romantic partner. Maybe the only arguably more person we project at is our parent when we're little. But you project like crazy at your partner. You continue to do so. But like you said, is that honeymoon, if we disentangle ourselves from that honeymoon phase, what remains is like, it's real. It's just a human. It's just some flawed, and they see us that way. And so I think that, like you're talking about codependence, but I think that stage, I really like how you said that. It kind of strengthens it, or we move away from globbing onto the person that we're projecting so much, or we're just like, I'm sovereign. I'm a self. You're a self. We're choosing to do this together. That's mature. Or we go in this codependency is like a mom and a baby. I don't exist without you. A baby doesn't exist without a mother, and a mother doesn't exist without a baby. It's kind of a primal rebirth into your evolution, right?
This is why men are so obsessed with breasts.
Right. Certainly.
Well, a lot of men, I should say. There actually, I believe, is something there that's just kind of interesting.
The symbol of one, certainly. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think you should explain it. I think you should just state it confidently.
He's like, moving on. Eject.
No, so we're not going to be able to come back from that. There's no way. The podcast is over. I think what it reminds me of what you're saying is that, okay, so some of these people that I see, getting caught up in this deception, the romance and the love. And it's interesting what you're saying, because often when someone feels what do people call it? Like the emotional draw, the chemistry. No, that's not what do people call that? The destiny. Like there's soulmate. I'm just so drawn to this person. I can't explain it. Like they're like my other person. And to burst someone's bubble, it's like often what that is. This is a hole that is in you,
right?
That you are perceiving that this person. It's all unconscious. No one's like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this woman because I believe she can complete what's always been incomplete with me with my own mother. Correct. No one's ever saying that.
They're not.
But that if there's a really strong draw, it's not just because they're that amazing, especially in the romance phase.
Right. No.
And so it's just, Now, someone could be aware of this, but it doesn't, when somebody's in that romance phase, they want to ride that out as long as they can. And people will do that even after listening to this. And then they're going to get very disappointed. And so let's talk about this disappointment phase, because this is really, I think, the key to being aware of and knowing what to do in that phase so that you don't get divorced or perhaps become more codependent or whatever. So what does this look like? Well, it looks like you actually to some degree believing like, oh my gosh, like, did I make a mistake?
Sure. Everyone wonders that at some point. Even great marriages wonder that,
because this is how I used to feel with this person, and this is how it feels now. It also looks like people saying like, you're just not the same person you used to be. Right. Like you just, and these sometimes these strong demands, like you need to like date me more, and like I see this more often on the female side of like, you don't take me out as much. You need to text me throughout the day and telling me you love me. And there's nothing wrong with any of these things, but if there's an underlying belief that if your man does that, or if this other person does that, that somehow it's going to help you feel better. Right. You are being disappointed. It's a natural part of the process of deepening love. Right. And it's actually, these emotions are actually your body, your spirit, actually trying to help you be more in touch with reality so you can truly love someone for who they are and not just who you think they are. Yeah. So it's really hard for people to welcome that process. It was hard for me when I'm thinking back to my own marriage. Me and my wife, obviously, what's difficult is people go through that at the same time. So both people are going through that. So conflict starts, increasing.
Well, it reminds me of like, it's kind of like our first hero's journey, which is individuating from our mother, right?
Leaving the comfort,
leaving the mommy, leaving the perfection. Like when you first of all, you're in this everything's perfect when you're inside of your mom's womb. The temperature's perfect. You're always fed. It's quiet. You're in warm water. It's beautiful. It's bliss. Dang. You're born. It's light. It's terrifying. You get hungry sometimes. You're cold. You're hot. Like that's our first heartbreak, right? But it's always the sense of becoming a self, right? The baby has to go through hard things and evolve, and mom makes mistakes eventually. Because early infancy, the mom's attentive. She's looking at baby. She's feeding the baby. It's so fun. It's kind of like falling in love. It's always perfect. It's so amazing. But the baby eventually kind of has this instinct, and good moms understand, like, no, they're going to want to leave you for a little bit. They're not the perfect little baby that just needs you. They want to get up. They want to crawl. They want to walk. Then you're a dumb mommy. I'm separate. Like they learn, and it hurts. It really hurts as a parent when the child becomes more autonomous. But a good mom knows, okay, like I've got to help them do that. It's kind of like partnering with somebody. I think there is that bliss. We need it. We need that part. That's like, you're magical. I'm obsessed with you. I can't breathe without you. It's a lot like that. And good partners know better. I think healthy partners who don't tread into that codependency stage, you've got to figure it out. I'm not perfect. You're not always happy. And as you grow, we need to be separate. Separate togetherness is critical. Same with moms and babies. You don't want the devouring mother who, the kid ends up living in their basement because unconsciously she's cut his legs out from under him and hasn't ensured he gets healthy and autonomous. Same with partners. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say a good, healthy partner wants you to be your own person and do your own thing. If you're one person, how could you be in love with that? That's not even real love.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So I love the term you use, separate togetherness. Okay, so what else happens during this honeymoon to disappointment transition? Well, what happens for most people in the honeymoon phase is they overinvest. They abandon their self, right? But part of self, they abandon their relationships. They abandon their interests.
Yes. Yep.
They abandon spiritual practices, staying up really late.
Yep.
To make out or whatever, because this is the most amazing thing ever.
Feels
and then
so
I wake
good.
up and I'm tired. I have to go straight to work. Like all the crazy things we do in the name of romantic love, which all of us have done, is then when reality hits, it's a returning.
Right.
So refinding myself. So I think the message is, we promise you, the answer is to not turn towards your partner.
Right.
You need to return to you.
Right.
Listen to some of these previous podcasts and get back to some of a spiritual practice. We talked about nature today, prayer, meditation, having personal time. Whoa, that's something that gets lost in, this honeymoon phase. So getting back to personal time. And what's interesting, so personal time, other friendships. Now, what's interesting is, what if your partner isn't okay with that? Because they're used to you being with them every Friday and Saturday night for 6 hours every night. There's a balance with this.
Of course, always.
But you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You need separate togetherness.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are just maybe a few things that maybe are applicable to, like, okay, if I'm finding myself, basically, if you are unhappy in your marriage, I think a good question is, do I have a consistent spiritual practice? Am I checking in with how I'm feeling and trying to set goals to improve? Am I hanging out with relationships outside of my marriage? I would look at those three things. If you're doing all those things consistently, awesome. Maybe there is something with your partner that you need to, like, maybe chat with them about or look at.
Sure.
But do those things first. Start doing those things first.
Right.
And seeing how much better you feel.
Yes.
At least most of it is going to be a you thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're obviously abusing you or hurting you, or then that's a totally different story. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. But
it's also why romance in the beginning was so critical. Because I do think that's integrated into your story as a couple, right? So in those down moments, you're like, remember when we were so obsessed with each other? And you kind of have that reverie together. You romantically and nostalgically remember that part. It's like life, if you do it right, you die and get reborn a bunch. And that's true within a marriage.
Ideally.
Right?
Yeah.
Healthy people that have meaningful
rebirths,
lives. Yeah. It's the death of our romantic stage. And I don't know, kids come along and you're feeling certain ways and you're bored. You do need to reinvent yourself. And I do think, you must talk to your partner first, but you do. Speaking of codependent, one thing, I see a lot of women in my practice, and like that codependent part of women, I think, is as you naturally are moving from the maiden to the queen phase of your life, you're a different version. I think I tell women all the time, when they're like, my husband doesn't pay attention to me. He's not as interested. I think, how much are you interested in you?
Exactly.
You need to be interested in you. It's like a supply and demand issue, right? If you're fascinated with yourself, you're in love with you, you enjoy yourself, people follow suit. If it's like the simplest, I know, supply and demand to me is like, there's a table of goods, let's say at Target, and nobody's looking at it. But if there's like 5 people looking around it, then you're like, what's that? What? It's just the way the human brain's wired. I think that's true. If you're so obsessed, I want you to like me. Tell me I'm beautiful. I'm like, stop, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. As weird as it sounds, it is so counterintuitive to be doing that. You must reinvest in the self. And then they'll be going, what's so great about her? What? And that's the magic button,
I don't want to miss out on this cool train.
And the secondary gain is you love yourself.
Yep.
And if they don't, you're like, okay. Like it's much less concerning. The self, the locus of control isn't outside of the self. It's in the self, which again, it's all codependency is. Both partners have put locus of control externally, which is a disaster. Nobody wants that.
We were talking to a child psychologist on one of the other podcasts, and I love, what he said reminded me of what you're saying, is that a lot of times with kids and in relationships, you get who you are. And that's such a good reminder that I don't think people actually believe, but it really is true. You get who you are.
Right.
And I love this reinvesting in self. And it kind of goes back to getting back to some of these basics of social connection outside. Now, what stops people from doing this? Okay, I think I am in kind of a codependent cycle. and I know I need to like hang out with my friends more and have more spiritual connection and emotionally work on myself a little bit more. I know I need to do all these things. Why do people not do it? What's the reason why they're aware of it? They're even aware of the negative impacts that it's having on them and their relationship very clearly, but they still won't do it. Why?
Well, I think you look at patterns. If it were my patient saying this, I would say, what did your parents' marriage look like? What did you learn? What is in the back of your subconscious that's informing so many decisions? Also, what was the belief system in the home? Were you a home where it's like traditional and women are to stay home and women are like, are there beliefs? Are there family beliefs? Is there something you feel shame about if you were to, I don't know, invest in the self? There's got to be something holding you back.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I totally agree with you. That's a great, like diving deeper and what does this connect to? I think my point is like, even when people are aware of that, okay, it's connected to my parents' relationship, or they still won't make the change. And sometimes therapists get really frustrated about this. Like I've shown they can see it clearly. They know why, they can see how it's affecting them, but they still are not moving. And one of the things that I've seen is it's not necessarily as in this scenario I'm describing, it's not necessarily as deep as I thought it was originally. It is there. A lot of times they are simply afraid of what is the next phase. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what comes after this disappointment? Mm-hmm. So we should talk about that. If I disengage, if this old part of me dies and a returning to self happens, and me and my partner are both doing that, then what happens? Well, something beautiful happens. In Greek, they call this agape. Mm. And this is you drink from your cup, I drink from my cup. And kind of like in this book, and the prophet, he talks about how the sea flows in between these two beautiful shores, and we can sail across and share our lives with each other. But agape in Greek, what's really powerful about the next phase is ideally what that turns into more of a sacrificial love,
right?
Where I'm filling my needs because I've learned the disappointment phase has taught me I cannot fill your needs to be happy, and you can't fill mine. So let's do that separately together. Mm-hmm. And then we will have more to give to each other. And now the relationships become these beautiful, like now we just like do our own thing a little bit and then we give to each other. And it's like the most love I've ever felt from people, including you, my wife, and many other people, is when somebody helps me become a better person. Mm-hmm. It's one of the deepest forms of love I feel for people, because it's a sacrifice. There's no manipulation there. They just want to give and help because they have something to give. They're not empty.
Yes.
Looking for.
Can't pour from an empty cup. Mm-hmm. Right.
So I promise that really is the next phase. I've experienced that in my own marriage, and I see this all the time in therapy, but people are so afraid of it's the ego or Satan basically saying, if you focus more on yourself, the relationship's going to end. You need to focus on the relationship. You need to pour more into the relationship. And that's one of the worst things you can do in the disappointment phase.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not one of the worst, but just with balance. Somebody was saying this the other day that I was talking to. They were like, well, one of my friends started spending more time with friends outside of their marriage, and then they got divorced. So I don't want that to happen. So I have to like cling to my husband. And I can't let go of him. And the husband's like, girl, like, sure, I want to like go play basketball. I want to go like do my thing. So fear, I love what fear is the same as anxiety from what I've seen. And, in this case, if you understand why you're doing it, and it's just a deception of the mind that you need to detach from. cognitive fear stopping you from the most rewarding phase, way more rewarding than the romantic, is
Agreed.
actually helping each other grow and giving to each other and sharing your life. It's cool. So, and it's way less dramatic.
It's depth and it's long lasting.
And some people are unconsciously just so addicted to the drama.
Right.
They feel this temporary hit of aliveness from it. And any addiction actually works. That's why it's addicting, because it actually does work, but obviously it's temporary. So.
Well, it's like, will the partner be able to find me if I go? It's like that. A child psychologist said, it's a joy to hide, but a disaster not to be found. Like,
it's a joy to hide, but a disaster not to be found.
Yes. Like when you're little and playing hide and seek, it's so fun when they're going to find me. But like, if it takes too long, you start panicking a little bit. But I think we're doing that in marriages constantly, right? Like, I do need to just go and focus on me for a little bit. I sacrificed all this with, having the kids, and I'm in a rebirth. I've got to, can the partner find me? Will they find me? I think that is a scary thing. And sometimes they don't.
100%.
We've all seen couples that didn't work. And I think you have to be brave enough to say, well, then what am I doing here? So what am I doing with a partner that won't find me? Do I want to even do this? It's not seeing couples, the biggest tragedy isn't always separation. I think you want to avoid that for the most part and do what you can with the relationship you have, specifically if you have kids. But you have to be willing to say, I'm brave enough to chance that, to have us deep in our marriage, in our relationship.
Yeah.
And if you trust your partner, they generally find you.
What you're saying is so powerful. So let's break that down to a little bit more relatable term. So you're talking about, or just like practically what that looks like for people, because that's so powerful. You're talking about this fear that people have of, if I go and become more actualized and dependent and start doing my own thing a little bit more, I have this fear that they're not going to find me.
Right. Okay.
So what does that actually look like? Let's define this. Like, they're not going to find me. I'm not going to be attractive to them anymore.
They won't get me. Maybe they won't like that part of me. Again, I mean, I would weave this in if I were seeing a patient with, like, what did you learn in your house growing up? What's in your shadow that you're so afraid? Like
what are you afraid? Yeah. It's like, it's almost like it's founded on this belief that there's some part of me that is not whole, that's bad.
Right.
That they're going to find out about. And then I basically found a way to mask this. This whole time I've gotten away with deception this whole time.
Right.
And I can't show them who I really am.
Right.
I think that's really relatable for people.
And you have to have courage. If you want meaning and you want your life to evolve, you have to be okay with being disliked. Because sometimes when we evolve, people in our space don't like it. That's true. We all know people who have made an evolution that not everybody loves that after. You have to you have to support you. Do you want to live in a fake reality where you're so attached to your ego or your persona that you're strangling your own psyche, the true self? At some point, you have to be brave enough to try, see what happens.
And I think this is just so, like, just clear, like, relatable to people. Like we're saying that going from romance to disappointment and then starting to evolve as a self from there is really risky.
Right.
Actually,
100%.
It's very risky because the fear is, there's some validity to that fear. What if they don't? Because what if I start to be, and I see this all the time in therapy. If somebody comes in that's in this disappointment phase, so they come to therapy and then they start to work on themselves more and become more whole.
Right.
Or return to that part of them more. But what if I start to outgrow my partner?
Right. What if you do?
Unfortunately, then, like you said, what choice do people have? It's like, You either are going to stay in a fake,
Right.
an inauthentic, loveless relationship,
Right.
or you can be happy individually, and hopefully that person wants to do the same, and then you guys can have this deeper love. It's like,
Sure.
there really is only, it really is, I don't want to sound so black and white, but it really is those two. I believe those two.
Sure.
It's a fork.
Well, and there's this, I think you have to kind of question, does my partner have to evolve the same way I did?
No.
Maybe they won't be as deep as me. Okay.
Yeah.
What can I supplement in my life? Do I read more books? Do I find friendships that scratch that itch and they're super deep and we have these beautiful conversations? And you know what? My partner is super fun and they're a great parent and they make me laugh and they make me feel safe. Okay. They're not going to fulfill everything. That's insane to assume they would.
That's a really good reminder.
You have supplementary stuff. That's why you have friends. That's why you have good rapport with your parents or yourself or your spirituality. There are all sorts of ways to stay married, even if your partner is very, very different than you. You can also the beauty of that is you can do whatever you want. Maybe it doesn't mean you end your marriage. Maybe it means maybe your partner will meet you where you're at. You never know. Humans evolve, humans change. Or maybe you come to grips with, we're very, very different people, but they are so good for me in so many ways. And this way I evolved is amazing. But someone in my church or a friend of mine or my own meditations allow me to nourish that part of myself. My partner doesn't. And that's okay. Your partner will never do everything for you. That's fine.
It's so fascinating. It's just it's just so insightful what you're saying. It reminds me of my own marriage before I got married, because I always wanted to marry this person that would like be so inspirational for me, like blow my mind with this cool, like zinger or whatever, you know?
So clever.
Right.
Right.
And my wife isn't like that. And so there was a disappointment phase to that, you know, for me, like, shoot. And she was way more disappointed, I think, than I was. But we went through that. But my point is this sounds so interesting. And my wife is perfect for me.
Right. You wouldn't have guessed it if you didn't hang in there, would you?
Nope, exactly. And what's interesting is I'll say this is like, my wife is the only person. Well, I wouldn't say the only person. This sounds a little bit, but she's one of the people in my life that doesn't think I'm that great. And I need that. Like, I actually love that about her.
Yes.
Because I don't know, like you said, like, I feel like me and you, we love people, you know, we love connecting with people. We're trying to listen to God to help us know how to help people. And I think people appreciate that. And, you know, they think we're great, you know, maybe our kids think we're great. A lot of people think we're great, maybe. And I think a lot of people relate with this. But for me, I actually needed to marry someone that doesn't think I'm that great.
And what if your unconscious knew that? And your thought is what was fighting it? It's like, be yourself and see what happens. You will evolve and it will be okay. It really will. I kind of married someone like that too. I mean, my husband is where I am. I think I'm super, super deep. I overthink. I'm type A. I mean, I'm a nightmare. And he's fun and he's light and he's hilarious and he's playful and he loves sports. And a lot of these things that I'm like, I just was drawn to him. I could not get enough of him. And it's like, we are so different. But again, I would be a nightmare to live with, but I think it works for him. And he's delightful and lighthearted, and he brings a levity to me that I did. And there are times that you're like, what am I doing with it? They don't get it. Like, they kind of do, though. Do you know what I mean? Just because they don't resonate the exact same way we do. If you trust the process, see, if you tried to meet her exactly where she is and be codependent and not evolve to this version of you, like, you would be sad. You had to keep going with who you were and evolve and be yourself. And it's okay. You guys are fine. And something in you broke a little bit, maybe an ego part that's like, she's actually perfect for me. And my soul knew that.
And she hates my guts.
But maybe you need that.
Just kidding. Sure. She doesn't hate my guts. She's amazing.
Right. But you didn't know you needed it, but your unconscious did, which is why you were so attracted to her.
Right.
Be yourself first. Because if you tried to just acclimate and be on the exact same level as her, you would resent her. This wouldn't be this moment of clarity now where it's like, it works. It works. I can't even picture myself with another partner now. But yeah, there were times that I'm like, is this right? I don't know. We're thinking too much. We're not being still with it and like seeing what happens and still honoring our own growth. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So let's talk about the other side of the coin of like, okay, we're talking about the importance of commitment and seeing relationships through and sticking with it. How can somebody know when it's not right? When they actually, all of us get deceived in the romance, and this deception has led to the wrong decision. How can somebody know if it's right, if it's right for them to stay with someone versus, how can somebody tell if it's that they've made the wrong decision?
That's a big question. I'm a fan of take your time. You don't want to rush into assuming anything, but I think it's an intuition. Don't you think you just kind of know? Because even when you were in the worst of it with your wife, something kept you like clipped into it, right?
That's super relatable for me, and that's super relatable for you. Most people aren't as intuitive as you are. So it's a really big battle that they go through. They wrestle. And so here's what I've noticed as just a thought on that is if you start focusing on you and feeling more whole, returning to yourself, like that really, and some of the things we talked about, that really is the first step. Now, if you are doing that, it is the right thing to encourage or help, or I wouldn't say expect. Well, yeah, to expect that from your partner to do the same. And it's going to be different for them, like you said,
right?
But that's the right thing to do. And this is what Christ talked about, is when he said, take the beam out of your own eye before you try to clear out what's in someone else's eye. Most people don't take the first step to do it for them. So once you think about that visual, okay, I clean the dirt out of my own eye. Now I can see clearly. This is when intuition can actually start to be valuable.
Right.
And this is when I can actually start to see clearly if this is the right person for me to stay married to or to stay in a relationship with. But people can manipulate and say a lot of things, but no one can fake a genuine change or response.
Right.
And so how are they responding when you are giving them like gentle and loving feedback because you're doing it yourself? If they are just not interested, and so this is more intellectually how you can tell if someone is perhaps not right for you, is they have no interest in work and being better. That's not something they want to do. They don't want to grow. They don't want to work on themselves. They just want to blame you. And like you said, it's important not to rush into it. But if that starts to become a pattern, and it'll become clear that it's okay. I wouldn't say you made the wrong decision, but
it's no longer the right decision.
Exactly.
My litmus test for that, actually, when people are like, I don't know if I want it, I say, how would you feel if you heard they were dating someone else? And I think if you're like, oh, I'd be happy for him. I'd be thrilled. Like, great. Or I don't know. But,
that's
killed
interesting.
Me. It's like how big of the tie is still there. Because that would be my personal litmus test if I were dating someone. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'd be thrilled for them if they found someone else. Time for me to heave ho. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, this is where I think John Gottman is spot on, where he talks about like, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. He talks about basically, he talks about a bunch of stuff, but basically what it comes down to is how willing is your partner, after you've done this yourself, how willing is your partner in taking responsibility for their own stuff?
Mm-hmm.
If that's just not a thing, he talks about how that spells the end of days of that relationship.
Right. Isn't contempt the one he said there's no coming back from? You despise.
Well, he mentions, so what are the Four Horsemen? Criticism, contempt, stonewalling, and
I should know this.
We're the experts. We should know. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Wait, criticism, contempt, stonewalling. It's another C, isn't it?
I'm going back.
Look it up. What is it?
Yeah, look up Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Gottman specifically, not
if
biblical.
you just type, oh yeah. Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and then type in Gottman at the end.
Okay. They describe conquest, war, hunger, and death, respectively.
No, that's not it.
That's Bible.
Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
Defensiveness.
Yeah, so say those slowly again, Dane.
Yeah. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
So what's interesting about all four of these behaviors, they all are a symptom of someone not wanting to look at their own stuff.
1,000,000%.
Okay, so that really is the golden. Now, shoot, if someone is just consistently not wanting to do that over time, like you said, and you're communicating out of love and that's key. You got to be communicating out of love and gentleness and clarity, pure knowledge. And if somebody is not responding to that over time, then it may be right for you to not be in that relationship anymore. And it's a valuable lesson to make sure during the romance phase that is a critical, that is maybe it becomes one of the most important things that you're looking for, instead of looks or common. We both love tennis and LeBron James. And so this is like so amazing.
Right.
They're amazing. They're so gorgeous. All those things pale in comparison, obviously, like what's going to lead to this deeper love that I think most of us really want.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one last part of this before we wrap up.
Okay.
I want to get your thoughts on this. Maybe two quick things I think would be helpful is the first is the other thing I've noticed is people's inability to, more and more people just seem to have low conflict tolerance. Like there's these little issues, like my wife puts the forks in backwards and she puts the dishes on the wrong side and she, it's kind of messy, and my husband does, it's endless. And then they confront him and then it doesn't go well. But just people's inability to handle like conflict is gotten worse.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so any thoughts on like, let's like why that is, and maybe we can chat a little bit about how people can change that. But why is it like that people seem to have more of a low conflict tolerance?
Well, and I'd go a step further and say the resilience is lower.
We could just say, why is emotional resilience
waning in our society?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's this like collective belief lately, and I don't know if it's like the political stuff happening or if it's like social media, but there's this feeling like, oh, I should never feel uncomfortable. That's my right. And I that enrages me truly to my core, because I'm like, who the hell are you to not be uncomfortable in life? That's life. We are uncomfortable constantly. If that's just how it goes. But I think that's kind of, the way, it's like a perfect storm social media wise, that an algorithm develops to validate everything you believe constantly. It's like this echo chamber of like, see, you're right. You're great. Like, it's this desire to engage with like the social media platform wants you engaging with it. So it gives you this like utopia. Everyone sees it like you do. Here's more content that's just like you. And we kind of applaud people who, it's this weird divergence from reality of you should never be uncomfortable. Totally. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. That's my boundary. I think we've got to stop perverting things that are useful. Like we've gone into like the end of the bell curve. And I think boundaries are beautiful and amazing. There's a point in which everything can't be a boundary. People aren't always constantly being offensive, or if they are, it does need to be handled with resilience, and it needs to be handled head on. Communication has to happen to resolve things. Or can we just have a conversation where it's like, oh, I don't see it that way, versus, dramatic. Yeah.
Well, when there's less emotional resilience, there's more avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of kind of what I think is a why are people more less emotionally resilient now than maybe in past times, perhaps. It makes me think of how people are parenting their kids now.
Right.
Okay, so my son fails a test, and the visual of like he's on his bike and he's about to fall off his bike, and then I'm coming in as hero mom and putting this nice soft mattress, so when he falls off the bike, he doesn't actually hit the asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
He just hits this nice comfy mattress.
Yes.
So he fails this test, and I call his teacher.
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, you need to pass him. And then like, what?
I hate this so much. You have no idea. It's killing the youth. It really is.
And how else does this manifest? Like a soccer tournament and a team gets 5th place and they still get a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No, let them lose and let them feel I lost. Let him they need to learn. This is what I tell parents is like, this is the most important time for your kid to feel pain.
Right.
Why?
Yes.
Because he has the support of these awesome parents.
Yes.
But parents are so overprotective or whatever that it's weakening. It's caught. Totally. I think it's an epidemic of what's happening. Why are parents doing this? Well, I think they're coming from a place of perhaps generally speaking, their parents were overly strict.
It's an overcorrection.
So they're overcorrecting.
100%.
And now they're overly, whatever the opposite of that is, overly not supportive, but.
Well, and if parents could do their shadow work and be like, this is a wound for me. And actually it's my ego that wants my kid to never be upset.
Exactly. Because then it poorly reflects me.
Sure.
And people are going to think I'm not a good mom.
Yep.
Totally.
I think that it actually isn't nice.
So it's actually not for the teen. It's actually for you.
It's for the parent. And I wish people could see that.
You're actually being selfish.
I can't stand to see them uncomfortable because that says something about me. So I'll just totally destroy any capacity they have to be strong and resilient, because there's just a weird, again, do your shadow work. Why are you doing that? What did you learn as a kid? Why does this pull and claw at you the way it does? And I think, I don't know how you were raised. I was certainly raised with go rub dirt in it and get out of my house. Like
I was raised with an iron fist.
Same. But I kind of love that. I weirdly have some stuff about it, but for the most part, I'm like, I'm tough and I can do anything. If I was in a precarious situation as a kid, I'd think my way out of it or I'd solve it. And
so grateful for my German mom. For real though.
Mine's my Norwegian dad. But you learn to be tough. It's a gift. And I think maybe they weren't enough in, their emotion. There's probably some stuff they could have done better. But that overcorrection we do is not healthy for our children. They need, again, the kid falls and it hurts, but then they learn not to do that anymore when they're starting to walk. If the mom's always jumping in to keep him from falling down, the kid won't learn anything. I mean, Freud said this is the devouring mother. This freaks me out. That's why kids don't leave their mom's basement. They have not learned how to brave a brutal world because the mom doesn't want them to. The sacrifice of a mother, and I'm saying mother in a Freudian way, like father too, is you send your kid out into a vicious world. You have to do it though. You cannot keep them with you. The gap is just
too big if there's not some resilience. Yeah, they will fail miserably.
Yes. If you coddled them, they cannot go. And the greater tragedy is not them going on a journey and failing. It's them never going. They will atrophy and die on the vine in your home that they never dared walk away from because they never learned what pain is, what suffering is, and how to digest it. I think you let the kid fall, you let the kid try, you let the kid fail, you let the kid win. And what the good parents' function is we digest difficult things with our child so they can make meaning and then have success going forward. And what's happening is a large swath of that, anything uncomfortable is being taken out. So they don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to be uncomfortable.
Right.
It's a tragedy for these kids.
It's so beautiful what you're saying, Christie. Because it reminds me of this. like what I say a lot to parents is straight up like the best thing you can do for your child is to let them fail.
Right.
You've got 3 more years. They're 15.
Yes.
We want them to fail miserably.
Sure. Yes.
Well, what if they don't come? Like they're either, you're going to delay. Like, I love what you said, just this atrophy. And
well, here's a theme coming up. What if they don't come back? You were saying this during codependent relationships. What if they don't come back?
Yep.
You have to sit with that horror. It's
better,
part of life.
Earlier, the better.
Right. They will.
Mm-hmm.
They probably will. Chances are very good. And if they don't now, they certainly won't when you shove them out into the world later. It's going to be way more tragic for them to fail then without any defense strategy than them doing it little with us.
So let's go back and speak to this person who maybe is clicking with this a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, I do avoid, like if there's even a slight amount of conflict in my relationship, like I just unconsciously like just go in my car and drive away or walk away and don't want to talk about it. Not now. It's good to look at the root of that, which can be tied into what we're talking about. Let's talk about some application with this. Like what can somebody actually do to start to build a little bit more resilience, maybe as in their relationship, so they can start to like avoid less and confront more in like a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. This would be, you need to find your aggression and connect to it. And I think people are terrified to connect to their own aggression. It's everyone's sexual and everyone's aggressive. Those are the 2 things that inform everything we do as humans. It's how we've survived. It's how we've perpetuated the species. And society tells us we have to polish that. We have to keep that. You can't go crazy on either one of those and have a successful life, which is fine. So I think people do kind of repress big time. But I think a lot of people overly repress their aggression. Aggression is a victory if you can tame it and you can polish it.
Aggression is a victory if you can tame it and polish it.
Yes.
That's a good one.
It's like the old, I think, is it a Japanese saying where it's like, better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war?
Better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war.
Yes. You know what you're capable of. You're friends with your aggression and you know what you could do, but you're opting to be gardening because the war is going to happen. You don't want to be not armed and out in the world. You must find access and understand and befriend the aggression you have. And I think too many people have overcorrected and like, no, I never get mad. That freaks me out when people are like that. I'm like, yes, you do. You do. All you've done is subvert it, and it's going to come out in ways you can't control. You are going to not be able to control it. It's going to seep through the pores. You're going to be self-destructive rather than owning it and taming it, like corralling it. But you can pull upon it if you do need to say, no, I don't like how I've been treated in this relationship. You've been very unfair. I mean, aggression isn't punching holes through walls and turning into the Hulk. It can be very thoughtful and very powerful. It's a self-love. It's an act of self-love to me, is being able to be like, no, absolutely not. I will not be doing that anymore. Without it, we become resentful. We become bitter. We become depressed. We become anxious. So many what presents in my office, I'm like, we've got to plug back into your aggressive parts. We've overcorrected there as well. I think at this point.
This is the masculine energy that's in every soul.
Right.
So we're both feminine and masculine. So we've highlighted a lot of the feminine things that you need to get back to, like the spiritual and the emotional check-in. But what you're saying is really important to start incorporating more of the masculine habits personally, perhaps first, before you try to tag it on your partner. And what can that look like? Well, I think physical activity is a no-brainer for that. Exercise, weightlifting, physical activity, exercise is fundamental.
Yeah. Well, and if you think of that sexuality and aggression, like sexuality is the feminine. That can be, I want to be loved. I want to attach. I want all like that. And then the aggression is the masculine. Those are, I think a thinking way of saying, these essences, this masculine and feminine in the people. I think, I do think I see this a lot in my practice. We've got to get back in touch with the aggressive part, because you are getting slaughtered by, and then you're mad, you're resentful. Why am I anxious? You're not being honest. That's why. You're not attending to this primal big part of who you are, and you've got it in a stranglehold. That's why your life's not going successfully. That's not, we don't avoid conflict. You can do conflict how you want to. Aggression looks different for different people, but to just disavow it is super, super dangerous. To me, I think so.
It's so interesting what you were saying earlier, how the type of clients that come to you or that you attract, because I almost attract or draw the opposite.
Really?
Whereas people that aren't suppressing their aggression, they are overly expressing their aggression.
Correct.
They're believing that if I'm working out every day, like for 2 hours, and this is how I deal with all of my problems. This is how I let it out. It's like, that's good, but we need to start helping you cultivate some of the spiritual connection, some of the emotionally awareness, the check-in, some of that stuff. So just so that it almost becomes addiction, because if I don't work out, then you don't want to be around me that day, or I need it.
I have a thought. Tell me what did you have a high conflict household?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I had a non-high conflict household. Mine was very avoidant. We don't talk about that. So it's interesting what you're drawing versus what I'm drawing. Because you're saying, whoa, we got to temper. But they might find a familiarity with you. Something in the unconscious has drawn them to you, because you might be able to speak to something they are grappling with. Because I do not see that at my office. I am always
so fascinating,
begging people to, like, we got to talk about, but that might be my shadow stuff, right? We talk more.
You're pretty perfect. I think that's all. No. I think that's all healed.
I'm just exalted now. No, but I do think, I wonder if that is why those patients get drawn to you. There's some part of you that is projected and primal that they're attracted to and want you to help heal them.
Like, you better not come into my office if you're suppressing your aggression.
Well, there's something, I do think that it's that attraction. It's that bigger than us thing, right? That maybe they sense something in you that can heal them, and you're uncanny at finding it. I don't know. Just an interesting thing.
Christie, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
You're the best.
Good.
If you have benefited from this podcast in any way, it would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, to allow us to keep it going and bring on inspirational human beings.